Caroline Leavitt, unbidden, at the top of her briefing, talked about the president's health. In the last few days, we've seen stories about the president's hands appearing to have makeup covering bruises, something we've seen in the past in photos. And we've seen stories about his ankles and photos making his ankles seem very big. Now, from back to George Bush secretly wearing a listening device during the debate. And there's all sorts of examples and of course, with Joe Biden, lots of times you see in the modern era some visual of a president and the people on the other tribe go crazy and say, this proves X and Y and Z. And it's a horrible thing, right? It just divides us and there's no clarity. And sometimes people get asked about it in the White House and there's no answer. So today, Caroline Leavitt did something that I think is just a great model for what I've always advocated for, with one exception, which I'll mention. She addressed head on, unbidden, with a lot of data, these two things that people have observed about the president. Here's Caroline Leavitt, number one, please.
On another note, I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House medical unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac biomarkers. All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. And the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here. So the president wanted me to share that note with all of you. I'm happy to take further questions on it. We will provide the memorandum from the president's physician to all of you, as we always do.
Spectacular. And I wish the Biden administration had done that. And they I think, would have been smart to do it, unless, of course, he was so ill that they couldn't. But two ways this falls short of the Halperin paradigm. I would have liked the doctor to come out and brief, and I would have liked the White House to call all the Washington bureaus and say, send your medical reporter to the White House today. Because if she had opened it up to the doctor, if the doctor had come in, those political hacks, those reporters, they're my colleagues who are political reporters. They don't know anything. They wouldn't know what to ask. She read a bunch of stats there. Sounded impressive. I don't know what any of it means, and neither does anybody in the White House briefing room. So in America, the health of the president is super important. It'd be great if they'd invited or if you don't want to have them take the seats in the briefing room, do a Zoom with the doctor and medical reporters. But those two insignificant caveats aside, spectacular what they just did. Brian, as a Democrat, I'm hoping you agree with me that it's fantastic so people understand what's going on with our president. Brian.
I do. I think that transparency has really been missing from this administration. So, you lean into it at one time and you get a lot of, positive praise for it. But I don't think that you can really discount chronic venous insufficiency either, because it's well known to impair blood flow back to the heart. I don't think that's a good thing. So, they might minimize it and say that he's otherwise in good health, but if everything were just great and he's in better shape than any president in history, then they wouldn't have come out with something so exhaustive and something like this. But I agree with you. I think it could have been a little bit more of a process with regards to Q&A, just QA/QC it a little bit, but they'll get that in the coming days too.
Brian, I agreed with much of what you said, but I just can't agree with the notion that being disclosing everything or being putting out a lot of data means they're hiding something, which is sort of what you said, that they put out a lot to divert away from. I just can't agree with that respectfully, because maybe that's all there is, and they are putting the doctor's credibility on the line. Mark, as you want to respond to that? I didn't mean to just sort of stuff you
Yeah,
with that,
I
but
mean,
okay. Well, I'm sorry, Brian. Do you want to respond to what I said about what you said? You don't have to, but I
No,
just
no, not necessarily. I
oh,
mean,
okay.
I certainly see your point, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying that, I think there's been a veil of, mystery all along, and there's always hide the puck with this
Yeah.
administration.
No, we always got to
So
be skeptical of any White House, including one that has a history, as you said. Mark, I'm applauding it as public policy, but I also think it's deviously brilliant politically, because now they can really go after the Biden folks even more and say, compare and contrast. The Joe Biden, they never did anything like this.
we went through 5+ years of made up words like deep fakes and the American people being able to see the president of the United States fall off his bike and just kind of fall over. And then of course, the Jackie Walorski situation, which was absolutely bonkers, and a million different things in between. And the entire time, the entire Democratic establishment and largely the media and his inner circle, they defended him wholeheartedly. And so now this instance where we have an incident of minor bruising on his hand, and they say, "Oh, look, here's the medical reason for it." Like that is a breath of fresh air, and especially like the White House knows President Trump, like he's 80 years old too, right? So
Yeah.
like for him to be able to say like I'm a spry, active guy who can continue to golf and work 24 hours a day, that's really important, and that inspires confidence both in his leadership, but also just like as you said, Mark, like the weight of the meaning of the health of the president is very important and probably more cognizant to the American people now than it has ever been in our recent history.
Yeah. I'll take issue with one thing you said. You ever ridden one of those bikes with the straps and the pedals? You ever ridden one of those?
Not recently, no.
All right, they're really hard to get off of. Like I understand how infirm he was and whatever, but you could fall on that thing with your feet in those
Then
straps.
then that's a
Uh,
bad comms job. That his team
Well,
should not have let him
and a
get off
bad,
the bike
well, and a
near
bad,
the
and
cameras.
a bad advanced job too. I would never let him ride one. I don't know if he typically rode that kind of bike. I feel passionate about this because I rode one once and I fractured 5 ribs because I didn't understand how to get off the thing. In any event, otherwise I agreed with you, and again I agreed, Brian, with what you said as well. Want more great clips like that? I've got an idea. Hit the subscribe button, be part of the Two-Way community, never miss a clip, and you can always watch our full episodes. Join them live. Go to twoway.tv.